I'm Tony McNeill from Immigration. Thank you for having me here today. I'm going to talk to you about some employment law. In New Zealand, just before we get started, a handshake is how we often judge our first interaction with a person. So we like our handshake to be very firm, look each other in the eye, big smile, and that way we go, oh yeah, I like this person. Rightly or wrongly. So culturally in New Zealand, we go, a handshake is really important. But in a lot of cultures, it isn't. So my invitation to you is to practice your handshakes. We don't try and break our fists and our knuckles, but we have a firm handshake. That's it. Well done. Well done. Good to see you. Yeah. That's how we do it. Our open body, our eye contact, which is really hard if you're from a culture where, we don't have a handshake thing. So my invitation to you, when you're meeting employers or meeting people for the first time, is to really just try and adopt the Kiwi handshake. If I came to your country, I would have to adapt as well to the things that are important to you. So my invitation is to adapt for that one thing because it's really important. Because it was a big hit on the day, wasn't it? Yeah, we had an expert up with us. It was brilliant. Okay, let's have a look at this. So you've been for an interview and you've got the job. Well done. All right. Obviously, people come to New Zealand for lots of different reasons. To work in construction, in orchards, technology, and in our big cities. You're here studying. Who wants to stay and work after they finish study? Okay, all right then. Here's the most important thing. Every employee in New Zealand has the same employment rights. It does not matter what the job is or what your immigration status is. Who's doing 20 hours per week? Yeah? Anybody else doing more than that? No? Oh, that's good. Trick question. Okay. Well done. Very good. So even doing 20 hours per week as a student, you have the same employment rights as I do. A Kiwi born in New Zealand. That is really important to remember. So when you get offered a job, you get a contract. Yep, straightforward. What should be in a contract, do you think? What the work will be? A part of the job description, so you know what you're doing, so you don't sign up to be a vet and suddenly find you're a plasterer. That's not good. Okay. So in a contract, it should say who you are, who they are. What's the name of the company? What will my duties be? How many hours per week do I have to do? So very important that you read it. If you want to get legal advice, read it, go through it. And any problems, it's really important to ask your employer, what does this mean? Because sometimes I think, and I've done this myself, okay, I've got the job I want. Oh, that's it, that's great. Then suddenly I find, oh, I don't like that bit. Oh, I don't like that bit. But I want the job so much, I'm willing to compromise. And suddenly it's not as attractive as I thought it was going to be, but I don't want to say no. But sometimes you've got to be really strong and go, hang on, I need to ask a question. I can't get pushed into a place I don't want to be. So sometimes all that glitters is not gold. It's a Kiwi saying is that if something looks really attractive, it may not be. Okay? So you've got to try and check it out. So we have a minimum hourly rate in New Zealand. Now I would expect that if you're graduated from university, you're not going to go to a job that pays minimum wage. Okay, that wouldn't be in line with the study you've been doing. So we have a thing called market rates. So if you, what do we say, engineering, computer sciences, study for you, variety? Okay, so if I employ you as an engineer in my firm or an IT specialist or a software developer, then I don't say, well, look, you're not a New Zealander, so I'm not going to give you nearly as much money as I give to a New Zealander, okay? Because you weren't born here. Sure, you can do the job, but you're not getting as much money Does that sound right? No, not at all. So that's that thing about market rates. So you make sure you're getting paid either what you're worth for your qualifications, for your work experience, and it's entry level. There may be levels you have to go through. You know, your first year of employment might pay $70,000. A year later, you've got more qualifications, you've got more experience, you go up in salary. So really important that you make sure you get paid what you're worth. Where will you find how much you're going to get paid? In your contract. But you're absolutely right, but you'll find that in your contract. Okay, so you want to make sure, probably a really good one to read twice. Make sure there's nothing hidden. This is a very important one. We had some situations with workers coming to New Zealand who their employer had provided safety gear or induction training, health and safety. So they spent a lot of money getting their worker employed and inducted. Then they took money out of their salary to pay for it. Does that sound right? Okay then. Now the reason it wasn't right is because they didn't ask permission. They just said, we're training you and we're taking $50 a week out of your wages, your salary. And they went, oh, okay, that must be the rules. Here's the rules, is that if it's a reasonable cost, if I was a builder and I arrived in New Zealand and said, I'm a carpenter, I want to work in this construction firm, but I haven't got any tools because I couldn't bring them with me, the company might say, right, we're going to give you the tools and you shall pay us back out of your weekly salary and when the tools are paid for, that will end. And I say, that sounds good. So we both sign the deductions. So it's got to be agreed to, and it's got to be reasonable. You know, you can't just, we had people sort of saying, oh, well, look, it's for your gumboots, and it's for your jacket and your hat. That's the cost of doing business. You know, if I'm running a company, I can't expect my employees to pay for everything. You know, your tea and your coffee and the milk and your gumboots and your hat. No. So there's got to be a balance. So if you've ever got any doubts, you need to discuss it with someone. Okay? But that can be a lot of different situations where employers say, no, you're going to pay for your training. So be very careful. So the only thing you haven't got a say in is tax. You know, because the government takes the tax. And I don't like it, but they do it. I've said no. I said, I don't have to do that anymore, but they still keep taking it. So that just tells me I've got no power there. But always make sure you're on the right tax bracket, okay? So on holiday. So in New Zealand, we have a really robust act called the Holidays Act, and that outlines all things to do with holidays. It can get very complicated, so that's why you need to talk to your employer, because if you work public holidays, what does that mean? Do I get paid time and a half? Do I get another holiday? Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. So once again, you refer to your contract. However, the Holidays Act is a legislative document, so a contract can't say, oh, we're not following that. Okay, so once again, the Holidays Act is what overrides your holidays, but you've got to get 4 weeks per year, 20 days. And so you need to work out on your contract, when do I get that? Do I have to work for 6 months? Is it every month I get 2.25 days, or how does it work? So once again, you have conversation with your employer, okay? Read your contract so you know exactly what you're entitled to. Because I've seen it before, it's really complicated, and when we've done audits with large companies, and you think they'd be perfect, but they're not, and they make mistakes, especially if you've got shift work. You know, you might have 2 shifts working from 7 till 3 and then 3 till 11, then working through till midnight on a Saturday. It all gets very confusing. So make sure you are getting what you deserve. So any doubts, you need to ask. Likewise, with sick leave, The minimum is 5 days per year. Once again, after 6 months, you may get allocated your first allotment of sick leave. But every firm is different, and they have to do that minimum, but some firms give you your sick leave straight away. It just depends what their policies are, but they do have to give you sick leave. Okay? All right. So whilst we don't want to be sick, sometimes it's going to happen. That's very important. We don't want to end up like that with the thermometer. So if I had a part-time job and I only worked, let's say 20 hours per week, my entitlement would be adjusted to reflect the type of work I do. If I was casual, it even gets more complicated. So once again, it goes back to your contract. And then it's cross-referenced to the Holidays Act. So the casual, part-time, 20 hours a week, 40 hours a week, etc. Bereavement leave. So once again in your contract, it'll say, right, you've lost a family member. Okay, so bereavement leave is all about the closeness of the bereavement. Parent, sibling, you might get 3. Most contracts have 3 days bereavement leave. However, for cultural, religious reasons, you may need more. So once again, a lot of employers might say no, it's 3 days, or they may say no, we're happy for you to use some of your annual leave as well. Okay? You might have a close friend. Sometimes our friends are really close to us, and it's maybe a closer bond than even a blood relative. So once again, it's about asking the question of your employer, I'd like a day's bereavement leave, please, because I need to attend this funeral of a very, very good friend. We grew up together, but once again, it's about conversation. Yeah? It's about communication with your employer so they know exactly what you're asking for. Because life can get complicated in relation to that, particularly if you've got family living overseas, back in your home country or where you've originated from. So very, very difficult. So once again, communication, all right? One of the big things to remember is that if you're settling in New Zealand and you're having a life in New Zealand, you might be working towards residency and you want to buy a house, buy a car, go on a holiday, save money, do this, get a loan to do things. So you need paperwork, okay? And who keeps all your paperwork? Your employer. So things like pay slips and your contract and your job description, whilst you should keep them yourself, sometimes it doesn't always happen that way, but your employer has to keep your records for you. So you can call upon them, because if Immigration or the Labour Inspectorate, the people who look after employees and employers, they check, they want to know that you're getting paid the right money, that the rules are being followed. So you need that paperwork for you as well. Because banks, going back overseas, passports, renewals, all those things may require you to provide that information. So I just go back to this here. That is really important, okay? The same status exists for all of us. Look, on most times, New Zealanders can be trusted to be good employers, okay? On most occasions. So you're living in New Zealand and we want you to be happy and successful. That is true, yeah? We wouldn't have Meg here in the careers department and all that support for international students because, you're a talent pool. We want you to stay. The new post-study visa gives you the options, 1 to 2 to 3 years open work visa, whereas it used to be really restrictive. If you recall, it was like you had to be there, do that for that person. Now we've given you the breadth to go and explore where you need to get to if you want to stay in New Zealand. So you need to be successful and happy. The big thing is you have a voice and you're allowed to speak up for yourself, a family or a friend. One of the really sad things is that sometimes I go back to the fact about you get a job and you're really excited and you get promised lots of really cool stuff and really good money. And then reality bites and it's not quite how you thought it was. And sometimes you can be open for exploitation, okay? And we've had some really serious situations in New Zealand where people are getting paid $10 per hour. They're working 60 hours per week. They're being exploited. They're being told, look, if I take this job off you, you're going home. You know, you're finished. So you need to do exactly as I tell you, or else you won't have a job. And if you're in a situation where you feel like you're in a subservient relationship because you're on visa, it's very easy to fall into that trap of thinking, oh, this is my lot. I guess it will get better. And sadly, sometimes it doesn't. So when someone gives up to exploitation, you're giving permission to that employer to continue to do it to the next person. Yeah? It's really important. So, you know, you may know of or friends who you know that have been trapped in that situation. The thing is that people say, I can't get out of it. And like anything, in 6 months' time, if we were talking to them again, they're still stuck there. So you've got to break free. You've got to have a voice, and you've got to put your hands up and not be exploited because you think, I need this job. And I need it so badly. And things will get better. I'm sure they will. You know. But as soon as you compromise your visa because you're not following the rules, same as the employer, it gets really, really difficult and messy. So my invitation once again to you is that if something goes wrong, contact us. Yeah? Because if things are broken that much, we can fix it. When they get broken that much, it's really hard to fix it for everybody. Okay, so it's things like, you know, believe it or not, you know, exploitation can be when you can go to the bathroom. You know, when you can do this, when you can have that, when can you have your break? No, you're not having breaks. You're working 7 days a week, but I'm paying you for 6. That's how it works. And I don't suspect anyone in this room is going to let themselves get into that situation because you've all worked far too hard here to go from that into a bad situation, you know. And I'm not saying that it's going to happen, but it's something to really watch out for if you find yourself getting manipulated into a situation. You know, you suddenly find everything's great and then, ooh, that's changed. I'm not that happy now. I'm not that convinced I've made the right decision. Luckily for you, having the open work visa, if you take that opportunity, is going to mean you have choice. Yeah? But sometimes we get dictated to and we get stuck. And we are fearful of moving on. So, for you, that's not going to happen because we've talked today. All right, it's great. The big thing in New Zealand is that mediation. Okay, so if you find you're getting bullied at work or people are treating you with disrespect because they say, where are you from? I don't even think I can say your name. Your name seems very difficult. I'll call you Jim. I'll call you Sue because it's so much easier for me to do that. And unfortunately, some people can be like that. So you need to know you have a voice, once again, and it's called mediation. So you need to step up and go, this is not going to happen. This is not going to happen in the workplace. Just, hey, in the schoolyard, at school, bullies, yep, they exist in the workplace as well. Yeah. So once again, if you find yourself in that, you need to put your hand up and you need to be brave because you're not here to be pushed around. You're here to be happy and successful, okay? As that earlier slide said. So we would encourage you mediation. And do you know what a lot of, when you get into that exploitive space, an employer sometimes thinks, I'm just going to push you back and keep arguing because I've employed you. But it's not like, you know, in New Zealand, you can't just go, right, you're fired, go. What did I do? Doesn't matter, just go. Yeah, we have employment law to protect you. But a lot of people play on the fact that I can dominate this situation. If you don't do as you're told, I'm going to fire you. So, and sometimes you may have to leave an employer who's not very good, but that's for your mental health, that's a good thing too. Yeah? But mediation, pushing back, having a voice, a polite voice, is the best way to be. This is the problem, of course, with obviously being in a New Zealand English-speaking country. You know, I only speak English. You guys probably speak 2 or 3 languages, but as well as English. But you sometimes may have to make a phone call, and we do have Language Line, which is an interpretive services. So if you're having some problems and you think, I'm just a bit confused, things just don't seem right at work, I'm not sure if that's legal, the employer's told me this, make a phone call. And they can take you through what the rules are and what the legal terms are. And sometimes you might say, this is my situation, and they will say, these are your options. And they can help point you in the right direction to get a resolution. And that website goes through everything I've spoken about today as well. And that tells you where you can go to get help. You know, I get really, you know, let's face it, there are people out there who will take advantage of other people. You know, and if I think that, oh, this person really needs this job, that's something that gives me a lot of power. You know, so you've got to guard against that. Making it sound terrible, aren't I? You know, don't bother going, it's horrible. So I just want to give you the options, you know, like when you find things not working, you've got a voice, you need to stand up. Really, really important. It's quite sensible, isn't it? It's very, very sensible. So those rules are there for you and me and everybody so that we all know what we're doing. We all know what our rights are. But I would, you know, I think when I've spoken to a lot of people working in industries that might be in manufacturing or agriculture, dairy, etc., if they've got a bad boss, they just put up with it, you know, or they leave and they don't get their holiday pay. They don't get what's due them because people take the stance that, oh, you're just on visa. Way you go, I don't care. So that for me, that is really sad. You know, so people think, oh, if I make noise, they might go mad at me as well. They might think it's my fault. I can honestly say that that's not the case. You know, people leave employment because they're not good bosses, but they don't have to, or they do need to seek support from the New Zealand government. So most companies, like for everyone, when I was a manager, I had staff who always wanted to hold their leave. But I said, you can't have that much leave because it's a financial risk to the company. So if I've got everybody in my company on 40 days annual leave and I go, oh my God, if they all left, all want to go on holiday, I've got no one working here and I've got to pay this much money. So holidays is like a negotiable thing. So I think with a lot of people who have migrated to New Zealand, most employers say, right, okay then, so you're holding your leave for what? I want to go home for an extended time. I need 6 weeks. So can I accumulate, please? And I'm going to take it all in one go, and that's fine. And so they go, okay, then I'll do the math. Where does everybody else sit? Kiwis are going away at Christmas time. I'll work Christmas. You know, I'll work Christmas. I don't care. Christmas, nothing to me. You know, so I'll work Christmas. So therefore, it's about, once again, negotiating. Yeah. But so a lot of companies will try and keep leave down because it's a risk financially. For all the accountants get very nervous, you know, when everyone's got so much annual leave. But it's about, once again, asking. So for a good reason, it's normally okay, yeah. There are a 90-day trial in New Zealand, and so, but you have to, if you apply for a job that has that trial, you need to be told about it, okay? And you go, yep, look, I'm happy for that to be part of my contract. It normally won't apply to part-time, but only full-time. Yeah, yeah. So you shouldn't be told on the 89th day, oh, mind you, you failed your trial. What trial? Well, the one you're on. Yeah, so it's got to be in your contract. Yep, yep. There's a lot of conjecture about it, and if the 90-day trial is used wisely, it benefits both the employer and the employee. It gives the employee a chance to impress, gives the employer a chance to see if that person really is capable of doing the job. Sometimes there's been stories that, you know, oh, I've been sacked on my 89th day. And so that becomes really difficult. But once again, that's worthy of a conversation to find out what's the motivation with the employer. Yeah. But it should be in your contract. At any time in your employment, you know, you can have a conversation. You know, so that's fine. If you were there a month and said, I don't think you're paying me enough, they might go, you've only been here a month. Yeah, so in New Zealand, most pay reviews are about after 12 months of employment. Or normally, at the moment, I've just finished with my manager, who works in Wellington. So he got on the phone to me, he said, Tony, you're rubbish, you're no good at all, you're not getting a pay rise. So I went, okay, fine. So every June, July, that's normally when they do reviews of people's work. Okay, so if pay rises are part of your equation, then that you can have that conversation then. Sure, if you're working 6, 7 months into your employment and you're going, I think for the amount of work I'm doing and the expertise I bring, I'm worthy of a pay rise. How shall I ask that question? You know, so you need to think about how you want to approach your boss, your manager, your employer, and have that conversation. There's nothing to stop you doing that. As long as it's based on, this is what I think I bring, this is why I think I'm actually doing more than my original job. Yep. So you can always ask. But you plan that. You know, you think about what you want to say, the conversation you want to have, bring your evidence with you. Yeah. So just like a job interview, you sell yourself. Yep. And so if you want to say, this is why I'm worth more, you tell the story. But there's no rule that says you can't ask. So here's a conversation we can have. All right. So sometimes things take time. And sometimes we're really excited and we want it to be happening yesterday. Yeah? So what you may need to do is go, okay, I'll wait. I'll wait a few more days. How long do they say it was going to take? I shall wait till that time. Because it's a Kiwi thing. So I've got a job offer. And the person rings me and says, oh, Tony, about that contract, have you sent it out yet? Oh, no, I've got 20 to do, but I'll get it out to you, I promise. The next day, oh, hi, Tony, is that contract coming out? No, as I said, I've got 20, and I'll get it to you next week. The next day, hi, Tony, have you got that contract? I go, no. So be careful just be gentle, yeah. So sometimes the process can be a long time, and you'll sit there going, oh, this is so annoying. Yeah, but I do know of a young lady who got offered a really good job, and the HR manager said, I'm away on holiday for the next 3 weeks, so when I get back from holiday, I will do your contract for you and send it out. So this young lady was, oh, that's not good enough. It really isn't. And she had a friend that worked there, okay? And so what she did was she went, I think I'll try and push this along a little bit. So she used contacts through her friend and started Facebooking the owner manager of the business. Hi, I'm going to work for you. I understand your HR manager's away, but I'd love to get that contract earlier. And that owner went, this is not the person for me. Yep, because it was not respecting the process. So they went, oh, I don't care about the process. I'm going to go straight to the manager, the owner of the business, and say, look, hey, we need to get that contract done. And so and look, one manager might go, oh, I admire that. That's great, that initiative. Another owner manager says, no, too pushy. That's not who I want in my business. Because if they're like that with me, will they be like that with my customer? And that's not what my firm is about. So when you are going out there for jobs, sometimes you have to just take a deep breath and just find that happy balance between looking excited to do it, but not too pushy. And then not looking like, just whenever. Yeah, I don't care. So you don't want to do that either. You know, it's all about finding the balance. Yeah. So really good question. So if they said, we'll have that contract out to you by now, so I would go, right, they said it should take 2 weeks. 3 weeks have passed. Okay then. I would go, okay, a gentle phone call. Hey, look, I just wanted to double check that contract was on the way. Look, I was so worried that I thought I gave you the wrong address there for a while, or something like that. You can just make a wee overture, but just a gentle one. So once again, Kiwis, they like to see you enthusiastic, but whoa, don't get too much. Yeah, don't get pushy. Yeah, it's how us Kiwis think. Yeah, unfortunately, we make it difficult. Yeah. Some firms will shut down over Christmas. And so they say, well, we're closing at Christmas time. It's like my part of the business at immigration, we close over Christmas because we're not that important. We don't have to be open over Christmas. I know I found it quite affronting, actually. But so we have to go on annual leave because I would have to find a really good reason to go and sit at work and go, bum, 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 bum. Yeah, there's not much happening today, is there? And still get paid. So some firms will say, no, you must take leave over Christmas. So there'll be times that you have to take your annual leave. But once again, It's about having a conversation as to why you want to keep it. Because don't forget that we want work-life balance. So it's all very good to have 100 days annual leave, but you look like you're 90 when you're only 30, because you haven't had a day off for a while, okay? So very important that your annual leave is used for the right thing. But as I say, if you were going overseas for a period of time to visit family, and that obviously fits, if you've migrated to New Zealand, that's a really sensible conversation to have with your manager. But once again, if you didn't take annual leave for a whole year, that's 4 weeks, and then you're into the next leave, that's 5, 6, 7, 8. So a lot of companies won't be happy carrying that much annual leave on their books. Because if you resign, I've got to pay you 8 weeks annual leave, and you say, thank you, I'm off, I'm gone. So because you have to get paid your annual leave. And so that's a huge amount of money, and I've said goodbye to you, and I have to re-employ someone else. So that's why annual leave is a very contentious issue, depending if you're the employee or the employer. Yeah. But once again, conversation, communication. Yeah. Discrimination or unconscious bias, you know, because isn't it funny, like, an unconscious bias is something that we might grow up with, that we learned from our parents or from our culture or through our environment. And in actual fact, it's actually racist. But of course, people go racist. Oh, racism. That's a very harsh word. But of course, we have a spectrum, you know. So unconscious bias is, you know, okay, here's an example. I heard a person say to me the other day, in their community, and they have a lot of different migrant workers. Okay, some are Filipino and some are Pacifica, Polynesian. And this person said to me, I'm from immigration, said to me, oh, look, the Filipinos, you know, they're so brilliant. Those other ones down the road, oh, not so much. Not so much. And I went, sorry? You know, so this person was passing on a very simple thing. In their head, they went, I like this group of people, but I haven't got too much time for that group of people. That is a minimum part of discrimination. You know, it's a thought process. It's a saying. So discrimination could be, so I suppose in your country, oh, this would be a bit funny, you wouldn't really know what this means, would you? You know, so where are you from? Yeah, no. Who cares? I'm from Christchurch. Oh, right. You know, yeah. That's what I'm saying. People, we immediately throw the passport thing, don't we? Ah, so where are you from? Well, I'm from New Zealand. I was born here. I'm 3rd generation Chinese. You know, born in New Zealand. What are you on about? Perfect English. You know, so once again, Kiwi people make a decision based on looks, colour, way people are. So I would suspect that if ever you feel uncomfortable with something that gets said, that's when you need to go, I now need to probably reflect this with someone I trust and go, but we have the Human Rights Commission in New Zealand as well. Go into the Human Rights Commission. It gives you detailed look at discrimination, religious, sexual, gender, LBGT, all those things. Okay, it gives you an idea of where we're at. But anything that makes you feel uncomfortable, you will know it when you see it, or you will know it when you hear it, and you probably have heard it. You will know it. But that lady, so here's that baseline discrimination. So she was talking in a group of people, and because I'm white, her assumption was it was okay to say that to me. If there was a person from Fiji there, she wouldn't have said it. But I could have said, I'm a very pale Fijian, and I take offence to that, you know. So, because we don't, that's what people will do. You know, that's very baseline. I was astounded, you know, at that comment, because she said, I like that group of people, but not so much those ones down there. I'd rather have them not in my community, which is a really powerful thing to say. So I'm not sure I have answered your question, because the thing is that you've got, there's no sort of 1, 2, 3, oh, discrimination. No, that was okay there, but not here, because it depends how you feel about the situation. So if ever you're feeling that, actually, look, okay, I'll put it into this context. If we meet someone creepy, someone who's a male or a person that makes us feel uncomfortable, it's the same thing, So it takes those, you go, ooh, actually, I feel uncomfortable. I've picked this up. I'll talk to someone about this. I'm not going to go, but I'm going to talk to someone about it and go, what's your feeling about this? Because a lot of people have a really unconscious bias. It's environmental. It's been brought up by their parents. So they make decisions on what they've learnt, seen, heard. And that's our biggest problem. It's that whole thing about, well, where are you from? Because I make an assumption that you've just arrived in New Zealand, but your parents could have been born here. Your parents' parents could have been born here. And that's where Kiwis have to get their mindset. One of the biggest challenges for New Zealanders is the fact that we've had migration for years. We're all migrants, okay? So in the 1940s and 50s, we had huge migration. But it wasn't until they spoke that you realised they were Polish, they were Dutch, they were Irish, Scottish, English, Welsh, they were South Africans. So why was it when they opened their mouth that we knew? Because of accent. Because they were all European looking, okay? Now migration in New Zealand is, wow, I can see migration, yeah? So a lot of Kiwis are still coming to grips with how that works. Wow, this is like, it's really changing. I'm not thinking I'm comfortable with it. So all those old unconscious biases, the things they've learned from their parents, come out. So we need to negotiate that. We need to get over those hurdles and be resilient too. That's the big thing. It's annoying, but you have to be resilient and use the tools at your disposal to keep yourself safe and protected. Yeah. Just so you know, that number up here is directly related to employment law. Okay, that's employment advice, not immigration advice. The thing is, you can always email immigration. That's the thing. Is that if you want to email, get on our website, just go to the info, bang, you send that away, it comes back in black and white. You're absolutely correct. Because conversations go wrong. I've heard various people say, oh, no, you can do it. Oh, can you? No, you can't. Can you? It's like saying you can set up a business here at the university importing AliExpress, and then become a wholesaler of AliExpress. You can't do that either, we use websites and, I've had that thrown at me. Oh, that's okay, isn't it? Well, it's not, because it is self-employment. So you have to be really careful. So if in doubt, you did contact us. And I think sometimes people will say, they might go, oh, well, that seems pretty harmless. Yeah, I'm sure that's fine. Without going, actually, I need to take a step back and actually get the correct answer, not give an answer I think is the answer. So look, you raise a really good point. And if ever you're in doubt, get onto the website and send us an email, because that way you get it back in black and white and you can say, Tony, I got the email. That's what they said, So we go, wow, that's a big gap, because we need to feed that back as well. But, I'll be honest and say there's people behind there's people in training all the time, and they won't always get it right, which is not great for you, I understand, but they do try their best. But you're right. If ever you're in doubt going, actually, I'm still not comfortable, I think I might try again and get a second opinion, just in case. So I totally agree, and I welcome that feedback. So it'd be naive of me to think we were perfect in any way. Yeah, completely. If they said, I want you to come and trial for the job for 2 weeks, 40 hours a week, that's free labour. Yeah, okay. If they said, look, we'd love you to come down, have a look at what we do, okay? So, and just get a feel for it and see if it's something that you would like to do. Have a look at it, get a feel, we'll have a conversation, I'll take you around the place. But if I said, oh, you do this for 8 hours, and then we'll have a talk. Oh, I don't really think that worked out. Thanks a lot. Okay, I've got 8 hours free labour. So just be really, really careful. So once again, if you feel like, ooh, actually this doesn't feel right, if someone says to you, come down to my place, I'll show you through the factory. Look, you can even sit in with someone who's working here at the moment, get an idea of what they're doing. That's what I would expect and that sort of thing. But I would be very careful about working hours and doing that job for nothing.